Hey family, how are you doing today? We need to talk about the higher food prices that we have seen over the last 3 months or so. And now these different companies, restaurants, as well as fast food joints, yes, guys, they are feeling the brunt. Check this out right here where it says that fast food businesses are hiking prices because of the higher minimum wage in certain states. We all recall the recent increase in the minimum wage for the state of California for restaurants who have multiple chains. Well, that minimum wage increased to an extraordinary much higher price. Yes, which has caused companies, restaurants, fast food companies to increase their prices as well as a result. And now companies are feeling the brunt and they are wondering whether or not they are actually going to price out their main number one customer. And we are talking about our low income families, low income people, low income children. Those are the ones who typically venture out to these fast food restaurants. Take a look at this right here where it says that McDonald's and other big brands are warning that low-income consumers are starting to crack. Yes, executives at some of the America's largest companies have said that consumers are feeling the pinch of these higher prices at these fast food companies. And the remarks comes as sticky inflation prices pose a challenge for the Main Street, Wall Street, and the Federal Reserve. Yes, some Americans best known for corporations are saying that their consumers are being pinched by inflation as prices continue to rise. Inflation has dominated corporate America's discourse over the past 3 years following the pandemic, inducing easing monetary policy and trillions of dollars in COVID relief funds. Though the pace of the price growth has cooled down a little bit since the Federal Reserve began raising interest rates earlier in 2022, but consumers are still feeling the squeeze and often tightening their things as cost continues to climb. And it is clear that broad-based consumer pressures persist around the world. McDonald's CEO Chris said in a statement in regards to the fast food chain's earnings call that came out last week, and consumers are continuing to be even more discriminating with every dollar that they spend as they continue to face elevated prices in their day-to-day spending. A lot of people that have pretty much gone to opportunities to where they can actually start making food at home versus being able to get breakfast at your local McDonald's. If you think about it, those pancakes and sausages used to cost around $1.99, but now it is costing closer to $5 and $6 and $7. That is a lot of money, especially when you have multiple children that you are trying to feed on a daily basis. You can obviously not afford to go to a McDonald's every single morning when one sausage biscuit is going to cost you about $2 to $2.50. That could potentially become $10 to $12 just for breakfast in the morning, not even talking about what we have to spend on our lunch as well as our dinner meals. So yes, guys, a lot of people, specifically Americans, they are feeling a huge pinch right now. And take a look at this right here. When we talk about the food industry, we all know that beef is a very popular thing when it comes to eating out every day, especially because we love our hamburgers. And typically hamburgers come from beef. Normal hamburgers, I will say. But anyways, guys, recently there was a nationwide health alert that was issued in regards to ground beef over the potential E. coli risk. Yes, guys, this was very scary, and it still is because there could potentially be this lingering out there right now. But anyways, there was a nationwide health alert that is being issued for the greater Omaha on ground beef products, which may be contaminated with an E. coli, which they specifically give the number right here, which is 0157H7, which is a particular strand of the E. coli that is known to cause severe intestinal infection in human beings. And the impacted raw ground beef items were produced and packaged on March the 28th of 2024 with a use freeze date by April the 22nd. So again, guys, if you live in the Omaha area, you might want to go ahead and check that out just to make sure you're not storing some of that beef in your deep freezer in the garage. So anyways, I just wanted to give you that information because we were talking about food items right here, which, like I said, ground beef goes into our hamburgers that we love to eat, guys. But in addition to that, guys, not just the ground beef that is being recalled in the state of Omaha, Nebraska, but we are also having multiple types of food recalls ever since the pandemic, and even before that as well. Take a look at the numbers right here, guys, where this article talks about and breaks down how the food recalls are reaching the highest levels that we have ever seen since the time even before the pandemic. And as you can see, some of the top reasons for the USDA and the FDA to recall certain foods in the year of 2023, well, the number one thing is because of an undeclared allergen. Yes, we hardly ever see this show up on the news because they are not necessarily reporting on this, but that is one of the top reasons for them recalling certain types of foods. And then we obviously have heard of listeria. Do you guys recall where Bluebell had a huge listeria issue in their Bluebell ice cream? I mean, me and my family, we were really suffering because we had to go, I believe it was about a year or a year and a half without any Bluebell ice cream. It was a very challenging time, if you guys recall that. But anyways, we also have things like salmonella, other types of things that are not necessarily inspected, foreign matter, E. coli, and hepatitis A. So, and also lead, which is very small amount. But yes, guys, these food recalls continuously are reaching even much higher levels than what we have seen in the past. So you definitely want to be mindful of that because these manufacturers are really not necessarily taking the most care when it comes to producing these foods to give it to the American people as well as other countries as well. So again, we need to definitely be mindful of that, as well as follow the news just a little bit when it comes to these types of outbreaks. Yes, guys. So anyways, if you live in Omaha, be sure to check your ground beef that could be in your freezer. But anyways, guys, have you guys heard of what they're calling lab-grown meat? I know we just talked about ground beef, but that is from a cow, but they also have something called lab-grown meat. I wasn't necessarily aware of this as well, but apparently it is a thing and it is being sold in multiple different states around the country, in which they are actually taking some chromosomes or something like that from a cow and putting it in a petri dish to create these different types of beef strain. I don't know, guys. I really can't explain it that much, but you can Google it for yourself. But anyways, there is this fake meat, or what they're calling lab-grown meat, which they are chemically creating it and building it in the lab versus, cutting open a cow. But anyways, apparently there is some concerns about this lab-grown meat, in which some people are thinking that it is causing major health concerns. Check this out. Florida has become one of the fewer states to implement a full-blown ban on this lab-grown meat, adding similar efforts in 3 other states as well. But you can see in this particular video that is being shown right here where they are actually creating this type of meat. Like I said, you can just Google the information or watch a YouTube video on it. It is pretty interesting, but I can't necessarily explain it. But anyways, I consider this as fake meat, but they are creating it. But anyways, yes, the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, he decided to go ahead and introduce a full-blown ban of lab-grown meat for the state of Florida. Now, he is not the only governor or the state that is banning this. We also have 3 other states as well. It says right here that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed a bill this past Wednesday banning and criminalizing the manufacture and the sale of lab-grown meat in the state of Florida. Now, the legislation joins similar efforts from 3 other states. We have Alabama, Arizona, and Tennessee that have also looked to stop the sale of lab-grown meat as well, which is believed to still be years away from commercial visibility. Florida is fighting back against the global elite's plan to force the world to eat meat grown in a petri dish or bugs to achieve their authoritarian goals. Lab-grown meat, also known as cultivated meat, has attracted considerable attention in the recent years as startups have raised millions of dollars to improve the technology meant to create a climate-friendly grown in a metal vessel from a sample of animal animal cells. They multiply in the container called a bioreactor while being fed with water, amino acids, vitamins, and lipids, a process that can be difficult to do at scales large enough to create enough food for commercial sale. But anyways, those companies said Florida's bill stifles innovation in a space that is becoming competitive globally. Now, in regards to a bigger level, the United States has tremendously led in terms of alternative proteins. Right now, we have 43 cultivated meat companies in the world, but this kind of political rhetoric and these laws put that in jeopardy, according to the head of global marketing at Eat Just Inc., which is the company behind cultivated meat brands Good Meat. So next time you go to the grocery store, look in the meat section and see if your local store actually is selling this. I'm not necessarily telling you to try it, but if you are curious, feel free to go ahead and try it. So anyways, guys, but yes, not necessarily sure whether or not that is going to be healthy for you or if it is going to have some other concerns because of the chemicals or it being processed. But anyways, check that out at your will. But speaking to the opposite of that, Congress is still trying to provide more healthy options, more healthy foods to all children and families across the United States. And yes, Congress can greatly advance nutrition security that helps families nationwide put healthy foods on their table. We still know that low-income families are the largest amount of people that still don't really have healthy options on the table, as well as healthy fruits and vegetables, which is why the SNAP food stamps programs introduced their own plan in which they are trying to increase the amount of these types of healthy options for our low-income families and households. So, but anyways, for too many families, healthy, affordable foods are out of reach. 1 in 5 children across America don't have enough food to eat, and 7.3 million children lived in food insecurity households in the year of 2022. And research continues to show that access to healthier food options boosts children's health and academic performance and encourages healthier eating, purchasing, and eating habits. Federal nutrition programs are at risk as corporate interests push lawmakers to attach harmful provisions to spending bills that threaten families' access to healthy and affordable foods. And yes, like I said, the SNAP program continues to help to ensure that nearly 41 million people nationwide get the food that they need on their table. About 2/3 of SNAP participants are in families with children. More than 1/3 are in households with older adults or people with disabilities. And yes, 30 million children eat school meals every day through the National School Breakfast and Lunch programs. And if Congress continues to weaken the nutrition standards in school meals, children nationwide will suffer the cost. And also more than 6.5 million women, infants, and toddlers participate in the special SNAP program, which is called the WIC program, which provides nutritious foods information on healthy eating and referrals to healthcare for our women with children. So anyways, guys, this is just another alternative to getting those healthy items, foods, nutrition in our families, our households, because let's face it, a majority of those households and families are not necessarily eating these things that are better options for their families, let alone they don't even have the option to eat them or put them on the table, for either because they are not available in their local area or either because they are just too expensive for them to afford for their family. So obviously they have to go with a cheaper option, which sometimes leads to cheaper ground beef, cheaper chicken, and just ignore fruits and vegetables because most people believe that they need the protein just to survive when really you don't necessarily need it. But anyways, that is another topic for another day. But anyways, guys, yes, what do you think about this? This is affecting our foods, the health industry, what we eat on a daily basis, how things are continuously migrating and changing over time. They are morphing into something that we might not necessarily be okay with, which is this meat that is grown in a petri dish. What do you think about that, guys? Are you willing to try it if you see it at your local grocery store? If so, let me know, guys. Go ahead and comment down below, as well as hit the like button. I would really appreciate it. It helps this channel as well as this video grow as well. But also, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. It really helps out a lot. But outside of all of that, guys, I hope to see you on the next video.